Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
And now Sanchari Devi will continue the program with a special bhajan to Lord Shiva.
Shambho Mahadeva Sadashiva Ambujanayana Narayana Shambho Mahadeva Sadashiva Ambujanayana Narayana Hara Om Sadashiva Hari Om Narayana Hara Om Sadashiva Hari Om Narayana Pannagabhushana Sadashiva Pannagashayana Narayana Kailasvasa Sadashiva Vaikunthavasa Narayana Gauri Samita Sadashiva Lakshmi Samita Narayana Hara Om Sadashiva Hari Om Narayana Parvati Ramana Sadashiva Papa Vimocana Narayana Bhasma Vibhushita Sadashiva Shri Gandhalepita Narayana Ananda Rakshaka Sadashiva Apad Bandhava Narayana Hara Om Sadashiva Hari Om Narayana Shambho Mahadeva Sadashiva Ambujanayana Narayana Shambho Mahadeva Sadashiva Ambujanayana Narayana Hara Om Sadashiva Hari Om Narayana Hara Om Sadashiva Hari Om Narayana Hara Om Sadashiva Hari Om Narayana.
Today is Sunday, June 10th, 2018, and we are recording from the ashram of our revered Guru here in Miami, Florida. Swamiji will continue the series on Bhagavad Gita. This is series 2018, class number 4. And now our revered Guru.
Om Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kansachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Bande Jagadgurum. Om. Adorations to Lord Krishna, the preceptor of the universe, destroyer of the forces of darkness, and bestower of immortality. Srimad Bhagavad Gita, in chapter 2, entitled Sankhya Yoga, implying yoga of highest knowledge. Presently, verse number 19. Lord Krishna inspires Arjuna to become free of shoka and moha. Moha is deluded way of gathering near and dear ones. You gather a lot of near and dear ones and kick the bucket. Then in another embodiment, gather again. You don't know whom to gather, whom to not. That's a moha. It's like walking in a world full of mist. Follow the same path again and again, back and forth. When you go backward, you think you are advancing. Go forward, you think you are going down. Everything gets mixed up. That's moha. And moha causes lots of sorrow, mental stress. All the joy of your life is taken away from you. And that's the diagnosis of bhava vyadhi. All souls suffer from. So no one is exempt as long as, until you attain absolute enlightenment. Even while you are attaining enlightenment, you don't know you are attaining it. It takes its own course. So first point, patience is needed, immense dhairya, faith that you are bound to because God is behind you. You have no choice. Children can't act according to their will, their parents are behind them. They want to steal something, look back. It's the parents. I'm talking about stealing candies. I'm not talking about big steal. Simple idea. That type of understanding that you are in divine protection. And that aspect has to enter your heart more and more. Not so much about what's going on in the world, what are the factors and how well they can be dispelled. But he who has fashioned this entire universe, who takes care of even a little seed in its growth, that divine self, that simple understanding, the entire world is sustained by God. That has to enter your heart. Then the cause of shoka and moha, moha, delusion, shok, grief, that cause is gradually terminated as bhakti enters. And bhakti leads you to mukti, liberation. Once love of God has entered your heart, you are on the right track. And one important point, when you have love has entered, then you are not constantly asking. The enjoyment of love lies in surrender. Baby comes into the arms of the mother. Now his enjoyment is not so much to ask, but to feel that how baby is sustained by divine warmth. These are very advanced insights, simple insights. But abhyasa is needed, satsanga is needed to bring your attention back to simple facts that you are dealing with day by day. So this is the theme, and in 19th verse, ya enam vetti hantaram yaschainam manyate hatam ubhau tau na vijanito nayam hanti na hanyate. Those who consider the self as the killer, the words that are used here is highly allegorical. People who are not well initiated, they take it literally. Simple point one, to give you a simple way to understand. You are haunted by darkness. And someone builds in your mind the idea that each shade of darkness is a spirit. They're coming with hammers, they're making with teeth, big horns. The whole night you are shaking like that. And your mind is constantly building up the idea. How can I crush these? And then some of these shades go away. So, oh, how great am I? I drove them away. I am the destroyer, I'm the killer. And they have been killed. Think of it. It's childish. Who is the killer? What is being killed? But now understand that in a profound way, in relation to your practical life, in three planes. Plane of practical reality. From profound point of view, this plane is a big Maya, illusion. Look at the sky, it seems so blue, but it has never been blue. The reality has nothing to do with how you see it. The earth is so calm, but you are in an aircraft. The earth is moving constantly. I'm just giving simple points. So, therefore, this constant notion that I am the doer and I have performed lots of activities. I am the killer. I have killed so many. The killer term I'm trying to explain. Now don't take it literally, other the world will become a gory place. The self is neither, self neither kills nor is killed. The self is like the sun. The deepest core of all your awareness is absolute awareness called Chaitanya. More allegorically described Satchit Ananda, absolute existence, absolute consciousness, absolute joy. The only way you can understand it easily, behind all illuminations of this earth, illuminations are so beautiful. And you go on looking for those illuminations from place to place. And even million lives will not be sufficient to enjoy all illuminations. But the reality behind all illuminations is the sun. So why to exhaust the illuminations going after? Another shocking news, you are the sun. Sun is nowhere else but your own very source. Who is? What's that source within you that makes you move, think, feel, light of lights? Aham Brahmasmi, the I am in you is Brahman. That's where the scripture is leading you on to discover. The simple message is, understand the role of self-effacement. When you have succeeded in certain job or acquired lot of wealth and power, if it inflates your ego, then you are in the wrong track. But if all this makes your ego transparent, humble, you use your ego, your strength, but to glorify God, not glorify the little I, but the big I. If that has happened, then you are in the right track. Another point. Your innermost self, the real you, is not under the control of action. Soul within you is not a product of karma. It creates the illusion of karma. Sun has not done anything terrible to get into a bucket. So it is not the fault in your essential nature. Brahman has not displaced himself from the highest glory and stripped down. I'm giving so many angles to understand. So at soul level, there is no karma. Soul reflecting in your mind, now that becomes, with being identified with the mind and not being able to understand who am I, kind of mutual identification takes place between the reflected sun and the water. Soul and your mind become confused. Coming back to the point, soul is neither the doer of action nor a result of action. Soul, not in the limited sense, the soul, Brahman. That's your reality of your soul. But when you don't have that enlightenment, then ego-based understanding of your soul, that's not real soul. Delusional concept of who am I, that becomes the source of these erroneous thoughts that you are a result of karma. What you are, now the present world gives you a lot of possibility to entertain yourself. Find your hereditary line. Go after your forefathers for every defect you have. As well as everything good, both. I'm just distracting. Again, reminding you, that's highlighting, Tattvamasi, thou art that. You are not the body, mind, intellect. You are the absolute self. And that absolute self is non-dual. Don't develop the concept, liberated souls have gathered together in a Milky Way somewhere. And news is breaking every day in their conference. They're childish. State of liberation is not being located somewhere in this world. That way you become a loco. The highlighted message, no one can injure you. Neither can you injure anybody. Deal with it. But in order to deal with it, prepare your mind to become separated from it. Come to a stage of experiencing your mind as something other than you, not you. The entire mind and all it works out is not you. And it's not a shocking point. Every time you go to sleep, mind moves away from you, and you are not in any way at a loss. And you have the capacity to turn your mind into stillness, and you lose nothing by it. You allow your mind to operate in so many ways. You can make the mind one-pointed, make the mind distracted, make the mind so still that it undermines itself, negates itself. Keeping that in view, this theme is, this insight is being further extended. 20th verse. Na jayate mriyate va kadachit nayam bhutva bhavita va na bhuyah ajo nityah shashvato yam purano nahanyate hanyamane sharire. This very famous verse. And these verses are recited in many Hindu communities during Shraddha ritual, to offer prayers and Vedic chants for the peace of the departed soul. And during that time, this area, all these verses, they are recited. And what's that? This self is never born. See, persons, you are celebrating celebrating term I'm using figuratively. Shraddha ceremony for the departed soul. And their Vedic chant soul of the person, the dead body, the soul is eternal. The body is not the reality. Look at the soul freed of its limitation. It's a joyous. Don't be selfish. Don't think of yourself. You will miss the person. Think of the person who is being led in divine hands. Think the soul and its real goal, where the soul is moving. This self is never born, nor does it ever perish. All objects of this world, I'm putting a hand like that, but all objects of no matter how real they appear, they are just a play of the divine technology. Look at in your iPhone. You are talking to a person. You see every detail of the face, even count the teeth. No matter how real it is, the person is not there. All your experiences are based upon sense perception. Sense perception has its source in your brain. And brain is sourced by mind. Mind flows to the brain. Brain is like electrical wirings and electricity flows through it. I'm giving a very crude illustration. So all your experiences as a human being, led by your karma, throughout the whole life, all that to you it has been a long passage of life. In divine, nothing has happened. Watch the cinema show. To the audience, so many things have happened. To the screen, nothing. This self is never born, nor does it ever perish. Nor having come into existence will it cease in the future. That's to say that things come into existence to human perception. Certain things you don't possess now, you work hard and you earn it, you possess it. The things that were not there, now it has come in your hand. But it is not going to stay forever, no matter what you gain. But that is not so in relation to yourself. You have not attained it, and you cannot lose it. This is not object. This is the very reality. The reality, the type of reality which compares with the screen. And minds, all the things that are recognized by your mind, they are projections, thought waves of the mind. You stop thinking, thought waves, and there is no perception. All in this world, things come into existence. People go after desires, they work very hard, desire is fulfilled. But that fulfillment, as long as it relates to the worldly object, that fulfillment will not be permanent. Now, therefore, turn your attention to these profound points. Ajo, aja. The soul within you is unborn. It is never created, either in this yuga or million yugas before. It is timeless, eternal. Aja. Nitya. Ever present. Eternally present. That self, the reality that your mind imagines in the terms of millions of years before, how things were, and future, what will happen millions of years later. The answer lies, the self will remain the same. Your mind will have its own drama. Time exists as long as your mind is being used. So, ajo, nitya, these are the terms to be meditated upon. I am aja, unborn. Sages use these words and brought it into very practical level in life. What I'm leading to understand, the goats are called aja. Goat. A bleating goat comes near you. And you are reminded for aja. As a human being, you are just a goat. As soul, you are aja. So don't stay a goat. Ajo, nitya, ever present reality, of eternity. Shashwata, it's all synonyms. Ever present. Purano, Purano refers to imperishable. That is to say, Purana means generally things become old. The word is Puran. Purana ho gaya. This is very old. But scriptures that release you of that illusion of time, they are called Purana. Ancient, not in the terms of historical concept of ancient, but in the terms of that which underlies the illusion of the world. Because all these illusions will one day die. But that ancient one will not. Your soul is that ancient creature. I'm joking. Ancient reality. Absolutely ancient. Na hanyate hanyamane sharire. How can he kill anyone or cause anyone to be killed? That self is absolute, non-dual. The question of confronting somebody else doesn't arise. Simple illustration, the sun is non-dual, speaking allegorically. But when you are dealing with illuminations on the earth, there are so many illuminations. Each illumination has a limit, needs another illumination. Thousands of candles line up and they become a party. So all souls are like little lamps. And they always, human mind always wants the sense of not being alone, but being with duality. But in deep sleep, all duality moves away. And you are the best. Yet mind does not understand it. That requires a spiritual training and mystic discipline sadhana. Because that understanding is as simple as you are going to sleep. The entire world, the load, doesn't exist. Being non-dual, the question, somebody will kill me or I have to kill somebody. Somebody will overpower me and I have to overpower someone. That question doesn't arise. Veda vinashinam nityam ya enamajamavyayam katham sa purushah partha kam ghatayati hantikam. He who knows that the self is indestructible and eternal, the self is unborn and immutable, how can he kill anyone or cause anyone to be killed? Same point is repeated, called Gada Parinyaya, hammering upon your understanding. All actions relate to your body, mind, and senses. And led by actions, situations, circumstances, they go on changing. In a person or collectively in society. But the self is not in that category. Self is not in the realm of time, space. The sun is not in the realm of illuminations. Illuminations go on changing. Sun doesn't. Illuminations have multiplicity. The sun has non-duality. Leading you to a simpler understanding. Ego begins to develop the illusion that I have been the source of something that has happened, especially something good and recognizable has happened. Some next negative, he did it. But if you have profounder understanding, the understanding that is focused on I am the self, all this illusion that karma creates, that you have done something great or you have not done anything, you are rising, you are falling. All these are not caused by yourself. They are illusions that develop within your mind, and mind is not a reality. Katham sa Purusha Partha. The soul is called Purusha. Puri term relates to city, one who dwells in the city and rules over it. That's called Purusha. Your personality, body-mind complex is described in scriptures as city. City that has 8 ingredients called Puryashtaka, 8-fold city. What are those 8? Jnanendriyas, senses of perception. Karmendriyas, organs of action. Antahakarana, mindset. 4 aspects of your mind, unconscious. Intellect, ego, conscious mind. Pranas, but each group is counted as one unit. Panchabhutas, 5 subtle elements. Kama, desires. Karmas, desire-led actions. Vasanas, the subtle desires of the unconscious. Simple way to understand, in another terminology, avidya, kama and karma. If you count them all, jnanendriyas, karmendriyas, antahakarana, prana, panchabhuta, avidya, kama, karma, it will become 8. And that's one of the subtle points when people surrender Sashtanga pranam. You want all the 8 to move away, free of this prison in the city. If you have not attained enlightenment, this is a big prison for you. Attain enlightenment, you are the ruler. If you are the ruler of your body, then you are ruler of the entire universe. Your body is inseparably related to the whole world of matter. If you say, I am this body, put your mind into more adult state. If you are the body, then how can you separate your body from the world of matter? It's inseparably related. If you say, I am a wave, then the ocean, how can you separate yourself from the ocean? In other words, the same set that imprisons you due to ignorance, through enlightenment, it allows you to develop. All is the self. There is profound experience of immense glory. Simple point I'm leading to understand. Think of technical things in your hands. Use the same computer for doing something positive. Use the same computer for bringing a lot of garbage to your own house and sending out a lot of garbage to many others. You can do both ways. But if you recognize Purusha, I am the ruler of this set, I am not confined to it. That implies that you are moving towards enlightenment. That's the goal of it. All these profound points are quickly being said in the Gita, in the very beginning chapters, second chapter. Sages had no time to wait. They give the highest, and then they go on elaborating again and again. They give you a simple illustration. You have taken a pilgrimage to visit a big temple. Now, as you are moving, the guide points out to you, look, that's the temple. He doesn't say, look this, look that. No, that's the temple. But having pointed out, now he leads you through. What do you call that? The spirals, a spiraling movement, spiral steps. Now, in each spiral, you tell the very same thing. You see the same things. Go into another spiral, you see the same things with a little different view. The scriptures work exactly the same way, until you have reached the highest. But even before you have started, you are pointed out, there is the temple. And you see it. Second verse. Vasansi irnani yatha vihaya navani grihnati naro parani tatha sharirani vihaya jirnani anyani sanjati navani dehi. It's a very famous verse. Just as a person gives up old clothes to put on new ones, so the embodied soul, having discarded the worn-out bodies, puts on new ones. Society is given a profound way of dealing with the departure of near and dear ones. What's happening? A person, your own baby, your child, has soiled the cloth in such a way you cannot repair it. What do? Tear it up. Give a new one. soul, individual soul, use the body as a dress, cloth. More detail is threefold body. And they all became soil, lot of malas, vikshepas. The divine mummy looked at it. Out of compassion, whether the soul is ready for it or not, whether your boy is ready or not, the mother catches hold and out of love removes that dirty cloth, puts a new one. Such is the process in this divine system, creation. Therefore, this verse is recited in a Shraddha ceremony. Vasansi iranani yatha vihaya. Just like old clothes are torn away, new clothes are put on. And soon the new baby comes somewhere in, and his birthday is celebrated. And the family from where departed, still the grief has not ended. Such is the mystery of Maya. And most important point, the ideal that Scripture presents, that once the soul has emerged out of this old clothes, it should not go back to any cloth at all. Then that's called liberation. I'll give you a simple mantra. People who are aging and face the fear of death, first prayer, may this process that occurs during soul's separation from the previous body, may that process be spontaneous. As a child, you grew up. Spontaneous. The whole child stage gone away. All, even in the biological system, all what you are now from toes to the head, not a single cell will be there, say 7 years, 8 years later. You don't sit back or grieve. And all this is happening, and you are happy about it. Called Sahaj. If one becomes deeply involved in spirituality and good-heartedness, that's the miracle of grace. Leads you on, separating the soul from the body, and in a very joyous manner. Next point, as long as you live. So first point, Sahaj. Second point, as long as you live, Saras. Live with rasam. Live with the joy of devotion, of being an instrument in divine hand, a channel, a flute, whatever you consider yourself to be. Saras. Enjoy sweetness and share it with others. And lastly, Sayujya. Become merged with God. No separation. Sa sa sa. And with this I will conclude. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
And I got very positive feedback about sharing Swamiji's ideas about anger. So I guess that means there's still a little bit of anger management to be done among the disciples. So let me read you some more of Swamiji's insights. This segment is called Why Waste Precious Energy? Life is short and must be well utilized for a higher purpose. Do not allow the mind to acquire the habit of being angry over little things. Be introspective. Look within yourself again and again. If you create dissension and tension during the first half of the day, spend the rest of the day worrying about the repercussions, and then the next day struggle to remedy the situation, think of all the time and energy you have wasted. Conserve your energy for the central project of your life, the attainment of self-realization. In the short duration of your life, you have this tremendous task to accomplish, and it requires that you should be as enduring, patient, forgiving, and broad-hearted as possible. This segment, patience require patience. You must realize that an evildoer is a sick person. If a doctor is caring for a sick person, how will he deal with that person? If the patient, due to illness, is throwing things around, the doctor will try to save himself from injury, but he will not start throwing things back in anger. He will wait for an opportunity to help the patient. Similarly, you should have that type of attitude in dealing with all those who seek to harm you. Love even your enemies. Terminating anger implies promoting the opposite of anger: forgiveness, love, patience, endurance, understanding. Even in cases where the mind seems to direct hatred on a rational basis, one must place before himself the ideal taught by Buddha and Jesus, and endeavor to develop goodwill and compassion even towards those who are bent upon harming him. Remember the sayings of Lord Jesus. Ye have heard that it hath been said, Thou shalt love thy neighbor and hate thine enemy. But I say unto you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you, and persecute you, that ye may be the children of your Father in heaven. Directing love and goodwill even towards those who are crude and inimical is indeed supernormal. But unless one upholds this saintly ideal, he cannot rise beyond the normal level of human consciousness. Do not develop an internal grudge when you are harmed. Revenge leads you nowhere. If someone has inflicted pain upon you and you have suffered, there is nothing you can do to undo that pain. Plotting to have the evildoer experience equal or greater pain does not remedy the pain you have already experienced. A nobler approach is for you to enable the person to understand his error through the higher power of love, endurance, and patience. In the Ramayana, Tulsidas says that a saintly personality is like a sandalwood tree. If you strike an axe against the sandalwood tree, what does the tree do to the axe? It simply makes the axe fragrant. Similarly, if a crude person comes to harm a saintly person, that saint radiates a fragrance that can turn the evildoer into a saint. This ideal of endurance, forbearance, and compassion must always be held in view. Saint Kabira has given the following profound advice. If a person plants thorns on your pathway, do not go to his home and do the same in return. Instead, stealthily go to his place and plant all the best flowers there. If you do so, a miracle will occur. The thorns that the person has planted to hurt you will become flowers of blessings. And the flowers that you sow for him will prick his heart in such a way that he will begin to repent for the evil he has done. And as a result, there will be a transformation within him. Thus, while crude people retaliate in a negative way, retaliation by a saintly personality is of a positive nature and has profound effects for the development of virtue. It must be well understood that if you did not encounter gross personalities, people who are crooked and difficult, there would be no evolution. No one would become a saint if there were no demoniac personalities. God, in his infinite wisdom, has provided all types of people to interrelate with each other for the purpose of learning and growth. By their inspiring example and influence, saintly people go on urging those who are not saintly to advance spiritually. On the other hand, by their gross nature and by continually creating difficulty for others, demoniac personalities go on urging the saints to attain even loftier states of perfection. Therefore, you should not look upon the unsaintly personalities as having no place in the world. As Kabir says, if you find someone who insults you constantly, appreciate that person and give them a place in your home, for that person will purify your mind without the help of soap and water. If you want to increase your physical strength, you may have to go to a gym or a health spa and pay a lot of money. However, if mental strength is what you are after, the project is a simple one. Simply cherish everyone who constantly criticizes you and never allows you a moment's peace, and do whatever you can to keep them around, for he or she affords you the opportunity of gaining immense mental strength by keeping your mind alert, your will effective, and your introspection keen. And you don't have to pay a cent for their services. Everyone is a part of yourself, is this segment. Nothing should be more hated by an aspirant than the negative quality of hatred, and nothing should make him more angry than anger itself. For as long as these vices exist, no one is blocked from perceiving and experiencing the glorious non-duality of the self. The following account of an event at the ashram of Sri Ramana Maharshi in South India expresses this point quite profoundly. Once several thieves entered the ashram of Sri Ramana Maharshi in South India during the night. They thought that since many people visited the Maharshi daily, the ashram would have lots of money and costly objects. But to their disappointment, they could not find anything. At that time, the Maharshi was absorbed in deep meditation. The thieves asked the Maharshi for his wealth, and getting no response from him, they struck him with a stick. Some disciples woke up because of the noise and commotion. They rushed to Ramana Maharshi and saw what had happened. By that time, the thieves had taken to their heels. Angry about the injuries inflicted upon their guru, the disciples took sticks in their hands, crying out, "We are going to take care of those miscreants." Sri Ramana Maharshi said, "Do not go after them. Stop and think. If your teeth bite your tongue, do you knock them off?" In reflecting on that question, the disciples learned a profound spiritual lesson. You would never think of knocking out your teeth if they bite your tongue, because both teeth and tongue are part of one existence. You simply continue taking your teeth to the dentist to be cared for and pampered. Similarly, you are related to all the people and beings around you, just as your teeth are related to your tongue, or your hands are related to your feet. In other words, all beings are integrally related to the cosmic whole. All are part of the same self. That was the lesson Ramana Maharshi wanted his disciples to understand, and that stirring vision of the non-duality of the self is the goal of all spiritual movement. And it probably wouldn't hurt for everyone to have this book and just reread Gada Parinyaya. Reread the chapters again and again. Swamiji, are you ready for questions? Okay. I can hear everyone very contentedly munching and crunching. But if you have a question, please take a moment and raise your hand, and I'll bring you the mic.
Swamiji, why we born with so much ignorance and we don't born enlightened already? I know you will lose your job, but why we born with so much ignorance and we don't born enlightened already?
If that has happened, you would miss listening to these talks and enjoying the prasad.
Besides that?
Besides that, you have to figure out the question. Each night, someone may ask, why did this sun create all this darkness? The day and night both are caused by the sun. Why did it create all this dark? Why didn't it create a little bit lesser? Can you measure darkness in the terms of quantity or degrees? I mean, we're talking in a different level. Illusion doesn't come within degrees. You should have given me this much delusion, not that much. Illusion is illusion. Anything that goes beyond your capacity, you will consider it. God shouldn't have done that. They should have done things that are within my capacity. But then we will not grow. If you do things exactly within your range, then you will not look for another source, another dimension within you that takes you out of what you are. A child has to grow out of his childish environment. Everything is given to the child exactly as the child expects. Then the child will go on playing with the Yogi Bear for a long time. In brief, instead of getting a quantitative evaluation of ignorance, mind has to simply go after how to come closer to God, how to come closer to the light, how to open a window. In your room, it is a dark room. And you may sit down and start studying the description of the darkness, how dark it is. You may take hours to figure out, give us some scientific report, but open a little window. And that's the greater purpose of your darkness. As you open, the question of all that you report about how much darkness just blows away. Every challenging situation puts you in the in a state of helplessness. If you have tooth pain, say, it should have been just within little limit. I could have bear with it. But why is it so beyond? So whatever asking can apply in every little experience in life. And therefore, ultimately, resolution comes by allowing your mind to move on to the truth. Through integral yoga, your life has to become more integrated. Your action, your feeling, your willing, your understanding, karma, bhakti, dhyana, jnana, all have to come. In brief, you have to start living your life with a profound sense of enrichment. And then it comes to another stage. You become more inspired by your adversities. A mountain climber in the early stage, while climbing even small hills, had terrible time. And now he has come to succeed, not that type of success. And when he has come to succeed, he goes on looking for which is the most challenging mountain. He has to work hard for it. In other words, he doesn't look at a mountain as a source of pain, but a source of discovering his strength. So there are different ways of looking at it. But no matter which way you look at it, all these are methods to allow your mind, if you are facing big challenge, to console your mind. Ultimately, your real strength comes by surrender to God and continue to do your duties. Leave no stone unturned from practical point of view in preventing a negative situation. According to your common sense, how you should act, use all your resources, leave no stone unturned. But don't settle in a state of frustration. Settle in the state, God will take care of it. Yeah.
Pranam Swamiji. My question to you is, what makes an enlightened personality remain in his body?
If that had not happened, you will not have a single scripture. You like that?
No.
So, it's good that they stay with their bodies. Also, you must understand, talking about enlightenment and understanding it is just like going into a science college with the elementary mathematical knowledge and sitting with your great professor. Say, can you tell me all about your mathematics? How does infinity and infinity remain infinity? No matter what he says, you won't understand. You have to go through the class to really understand what it means. So allow that time, interval, raise your question. But in order to have a proper grasp, concepts in your mind have to change. Solution is not in the same realm as your question. That's Buddha created it with a story. And some of his disciples said, we are going away to another ashram because you are not giving us a clear understanding of why this world has been created. Who created it? And when a person becomes liberated, where does he go? You don't tell all these things. You simply nirvana, nirvana. So we are going to go away. Buddha said, you are free, you can go away. But suppose someone has been attacked by his enemy and he discharged an arrow. This is old style. Modern style arrows are not, don't play the role. But anyway, the arrow hit his thigh and it is still piercing within him. It has not been taken away and he is completely in a state of agony. And there comes a person who is like a surgeon, who is just going to help him to take the arrow out. But the man says, first, I want to know who discharged this arrow. And you can stretch the drama. He says, yes, the person who is in charge is this person. To what class did he belong? How high he is, how tall he is. Tell me, the arrow, did it envenomed or without venom? From what distance did he discharge the arrow? Where was he hiding? Now, there can be question after question. Should you go on answering this question or just to help the person to get the arrow out? Once the arrow is out, all these questions are very important in his mind now. They will not be important at all. And those questions and answers have no bearing upon facing your practical reality. So, if you work upon it, then you realize flowing on with spiritual sadhana. And as you do, your mind gets the answer in its proper way. But without flowing with the sadhana, without evolving, you sit back and go on asking the question. Stay within the egg, don't hatch. Hatch and snatch away your questions. So figure that out. At the same time, in a normal, healthy way, questions are perfectly normal, and your mind should not accept things unless you understand them. As long as you have not understood, try. And if you ask the question, then this is the type of answer you get. Depends upon what type of question. Even in the Gita, Arjuna goes on asking questions. And Krishna says all the great things. But Arjuna says, well, but it's impossible because mind jumps like monkey. And you say it has to be one-pointed? Impossible. The answer Krishna gives. It becomes possible by abhyasa, repeated effort, and vairagya. So this is one sample about question and answer. Question and answer is perfectly healthy in a normal setting for education. Okay,
Okay, we're going to.
that's enough.
He's finished his third helping. We now invite Ashwin to share his loving wisdom with us.
Pranam Gurudev. Om Tat Sat. So, because I work in predominantly a field where cancer is very common, I often get asked certain questions about what causes cancer and what we can do to preventatively keep ourselves healthy so that these cancer cells don't flourish in the body. Firstly, the understanding is that many cells develop certain malfunctions. It's like if a cell short circuits, then we have so many different protective mechanisms as part of our immune system to help eradicate that cell. So the immune system is very good at identifying these cells that have been malfunctioned and getting rid of that. So this happens so many times in the body every single day. However, how does this cell then grow into a cluster of cells and become cancer? What they've found is that cancer cells thrive in a very acidic environment. So people ask all the time, should we be drinking alkaline water or some type of specially treated water that alkalinizes the blood? And the answer is no, because it's not quite that simple. Although the neighborhood in which these cancer cells reside is very acidic, that doesn't mean that drinking high quantities of alkaline substances can actually be harmful. And the reason is because our kidneys and our lungs are very good at maintaining our body chemistry at a very precise 7.4 degree of pH, which is a measure of acidity alkalinity, absolutely neutral. So because the kidneys and the lungs are so good at maintaining this body chemistry at this set point, drinking high quantities of alkaline products is not going to be very helpful. The best way to alkalinize is to exercise and pranayama, because every time we breathe out, the CO2 that we're breathing out is actually acidic. So the best way to alkalinize is to exercise, because otherwise, even if we're drinking high quantities of alkaline substances, that alkalinity never gets to the area where these rogue cells reside. Right? The other thing that is regular exercise is very important. The American Heart Association minimum is 30 minutes of exercise 5 days a week. So you have 2 days vacation, 2 days rest, which is good. So rest and reward has to be built into any routine of exercise. So exercise is one way. Pranayama is another way of alkalinizing the body. If you do morning pranayama and engage those areas of the lungs, which are the deeper recesses of the lungs, which are actually the areas of the lungs which are more vascular, the more blood supply to the lungs actually happens in the base of the lungs. Yet when we shallow breathe, we're only using the very top of the lung capacity. So doing pranayama exercises actually engages the full lungs, all of the lungs. And so every breath that we take after doing pranayama exercises in the morning is a more nourishing and detoxifying and alkalinizing breath. So pranayama exercises are also very, very important, preferably done in the morning time, but any time is good. Lastly, fasting. There's new data that looks at the prognosis. There was a study that took many individuals who were living beyond breast cancer, and they found that nightly fasting of 13 hours or greater was actually related to a better prognosis long term. So what we find is that the time in between the last thing that we eat and going to sleep is important. And if you can make that time between the last thing that you eat and breakfast in the morning 13 hours or greater, that actually deprives these cancer cells of the fuels that they need in order to replicate, and that provides your also immune system an opportunity to identify them and eradicate them. So just using these very simple points, regular exercise and pranayama, and periodic fasting, especially overnight fasting, this is really, it speaks to the latest research that modern medicine is catching up to the ancient wisdom of yoga and other ancient healing traditions. More in my next time.
Very nice, very nice.
Thank you, Ashwin. Swamiji, I'd just like to thank the people who provided your feast tonight. The rice pulao and the yogurt, mango yogurt and the papadum were made in Swamiji's kitchen by very frisky karma yogi leprechauns. And we thank Lata, who she's not here. She couldn't join us, but she cooked the other portion of your feast, and so we thank her. And Sumitra brought the salad tonight, and Vasudeva's responsible for the dessert. So we thank them all. And just a quick reminder, help yourself to our bounty, our divine bounty of mangoes. Don't be shy. Bring your own bag if possible, and enjoy the harvest that we're having this year. If anybody would like to help with the preparing some of them for Swamiji's freezer, speak to me after class, and I'll see that you get the right direction about that. Remember our festivity of Guru Purnima coming up next. That is July 22nd. Very blessed day here. Let's all try to be together and fill this room with resounding gratefulness for Swamiji's presence in our life. Thank you, Swamiji. After Swamiji concludes with prayer, you'll come for Kumkum blessing.
Prayer for health, long life, peace, prosperity, enlightenment. All of you, for all the world. Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushti Vardhanam Urvarukum Vabandhanan Mrityor Mukshyamamritat Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kashchid Dukhabhag Bhavet Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityor Ma Mritam Gamaya Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Hari Om.